Hello, everybody. This is Ghost Hunter 385. I am back with more StarCraft, another topic, and more commentary for everybody. Now, seeing as that, let's go sticking with the theme here of what's going on. We're gonna go with the origins of the holidays. Now, this topic is important to understand just how things can change. And I'm not just talking over thousands, hundreds. Change is a constant here, but we'll get to that in a moment. Ah, brother, I agree. Oh, oh, hello. I'm the wisest man in the world. Hey. Anyway, like, subscribe, bang the bell, and oh, brother behind you. Oh, I better go. I'll see y'all later. Oh, brother, on your left, on your left. Ah.
You mean besides the hybrid and the evil shapeshifter?
Yeah. My, character voice isn't that great, but it's a work in progress. Anyway, let's get back into the holiday, origins of holidays and how it's been perverted discussion here. Now, let's start with Christmas, Christmas, Yule. Now, people will sit there and say, "Who? What are you talking about, Ghost Hunter?" Well, simply put, Yule was the celebration of the winter solstice, but if memory serves, it was also about the community coming together because of how harsh winter used to be. Hell, it still is harsh. Now, people will sit there and say, what are you talking about? Well, in a nutshell here, people have gotten so used to modern convenience, they don't know how hard winter used to be on everybody. Now, people will sit there and say, what do you mean, how hard winter used to be? Well, in a nutshell, you had to prepare, store, and do everything with your own food for winter. And if you got sick during winter, there was a good chance that would be your end. Now, people will sit there and say, "Oh, Ghost Hunter, that's not true. Trust me when I say this." Way back, winter used to be way, way more deadly than people understand. Because if you got sick in winter, there was no doctor to go to. There was no go run to a store and get any medicine. You had whatever was available. People will sit there and say, "Oh, Ghost Hunter, you're so wrong." Trust me, I know for a fact I'm not. How do I know I'm not? I've read enough history books to where winter was always one of the biggest tests. Because you could end up being isolated, especially if you lived in a cabin further away from a village and stuff. It's sad when you think about it, but snow wasn't the biggest danger out there during winter. But if it snowed hard enough and you couldn't see where you were going, that could be your end as well. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is saying that nowadays you get sick, it's really bad, you go to a doctor, you go to a hospital. Or if you got a case of the sniffles or you got a case of the flu, what do? You go get medicine, and unless the flu is not bacterial, what do? You go get cold and cough, and you get cold and flu medicine to open everything up, and then you just deal with yourself like that, basically. Now, with that in mind here, Yule was the celebration of the winter solstice, but it was also the community coming together where people would exchange the goods of their crafts. Like you'd have a cobbler exchange shoes with a woodworker who would make a cabinet for storage. You know, it was the community coming together. Excuse me. Coming together and more or less, you know, celebrating the coming of the solstice and the new year, and also bringing the community together in the winter. Now, that was Yule. And, you know, it was kind of like a winter party to a degree, except there was a bit of religious, there was a little bit of religion to it, but it wasn't completely all that. Now, when we go to Christmas, you know, this was right around, who knows, maybe 5, 6, 700 AD. When the Roman Catholic Church found out that people were still practicing the holiday of Yule, basically what they went and did was to make it about Christ, and eventually it became Jesus Christ's birthday. Now, sad fact of history is we have no idea when Jesus Christ was born. We have an estimation based upon the calendar that the Jesuit priests came up with, you know, BC before Christ, AD after death. And what happened in between BC and AD was basically the life of Christ and the resurrection, basically. So, with that thought process in mind here, they basically turned Yule into Christmas to celebrate Christ. You know, straightforward and simple here. And it was basically, alright, we will incorporate Christ into this holiday. And then eventually Christmas was shortened to Christmas. And I'm not 100% sure when that was. If I had to guess, it might have been around the Renaissance, but I don't know for sure. Now, that being the case, it's just, how does this keep going down? And now it's bringing together the community, and now we're celebrating Christ. Overall, this isn't too bad on the head of it. Why is it not so bad on the head of it? Because, it's just adding more on to the celebration. But the thing that you have to remember is that this is also twisting the origin of the holiday. Because, just as I said, twisting
My queen,
the holiday
bonus objectives will increase
is basically changing the idea of the holiday. Yule was celebrated as the winter solstice, New Year, but also bringing the community together to celebrate another year. Then you add Christmas to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And then you shorten it to Christmas to not only celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, but also to give back and, goodwill on earth and all that jazz. Now, with all that in mind, we come to more modern times where the concept of Christmas has more or less been complete and utterly twisted. Now, I could already say here, some people say, what do you think it's been completely and utterly twisted? basically Christmas has now become monopolized isn't the right word. Commercialized. There we go. Christmas has been commercialized now. I mean, one of the greatest examples of this in a modern movie is the one of my favorite movies, the 2000 how Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where Jim Carrey played the titular Grinch. And one of the worst, one of the most nauseatingly disgusting scenes to me in that whole movie was the scene where the Cindy Lou Who's father is at basically this store, and he's sitting there buying gifts, swipes the card, and it goes beep, and then all of a sudden it's like beep, 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 and it's like, oh Lou, you just maxed out your credit card again. You just maxed out that credit card. He's like, oh yes, it'll take me years to pay it off, and everyone's all happy and celebrating, and it's just like, what the heck? Most people celebrate when they have no debt. Why are you celebrating maxing out a credit card that may have, $5,000, $10,000 credit limit here? It's not good to do that kind of thing. And this is, the next twist on Christmas, is that now not only are you coming together with family and aspects of the community now, but now you're also, spending thousands of dollars to, just to what? You're spending thousands of dollars for what? For gifts that, if someone doesn't like it, they'll just return it, give it to somebody else. It's just, it's, I hate to be kind of traditionalist, purist here, but I think that Yule had a much better message than the current version of Christmas. I mean, if we went back to the original kind of thing here, it would be way better. But, it's just, what do you do? There's not really much you can do with it. So, it's just another twist of a traditional holiday. Now, people sit there and say, oh, Ghost Hunter, okay, you basically ruined Christmas for us. What else can you ruin for us? How about Halloween? What? How can you ruin Halloween? There's nothing about it. Yeah, it's called All Hallows Eve. And it was originally believed, because I actually researched this for a school paper once, that the original purpose of All Hallows Eve was to honor your ancestor spirits. And the original idea was right around the end of October, beginning of September. People believed that the border between the world of the living and the dead would become thin, and then the dead would come over and you would get to see your ancestors, kind of thing. And the closest thing to this original idea, technically, it's really strange to me that this specific culture kind of inherited the original idea of this, but El Día de la Muerta, the Day of the Dead, that's practiced in Mexico, is, this is one of the closest things I've heard of the original intention of All Hallows Eve. Because the Day of the Dead, you go to the gravestones of the dead, you pray to your ancestors, you put down their favorite food, you put down this, you put down that, and you celebrate them. And then, after they celebrate them, you get the people who dress up as skeletons, and they chase them back into the grave, as it were. This is one of the closest traditions that I've actually heard that celebrates All Hallows Eve. Because as I stated earlier, All Hallows Eve is a celebration of when they believed the veil between the world of the living and the world of the dead would become thin, and then the spirits would cross over, and you could feel your ancestors be close with you. You could feel your ancestors being with you, and then of course you had to chase them back to the land of the dead, as it were. Now, from here, that's Yule and All Hallows Eve. Now we could go talk about Saint Nicholas and how it relates to Christmas, and how the first technical Santa Claus was Odin, the Allfather of the Norse pantheon. We could talk about that, but we could also talk about Saint Nicholas, patron saint of children and everything.
No, it cannot be.
But the point here is that they've done so much here. I mean, let's talk about Saint Valentine's, the saint of love, whose original purpose was to protect courtly love. Like noble love between a knight and his fair lady. And then we could talk about St. Patrick's Day, where it celebrates the Christianization of Ireland through the fact that a boy was kidnapped from his homeland, became Christian, got baptized, then went back and basically brought Christianity to Ireland. And that's how he became a saint, basically. This is how these people are remembered and celebrated. And cutscene time, so I'll see you at the end of the cutscene.
Face me, Rude. It's over.
It is only beginning. Aemon whispered of this from the stars. He told you of his return. He told you of ruin, extinction, the end of all things.
Your god is dead, and he's never coming back.
Is that what you think?
I'm everything you lost. I am everything you never had. You've already lost.
Now,
My queen.
oh wow, that was
Can
one
you
heck
hear
of a
me?
fight. It's a miracle she survived. I wonder. Who knows? Barely. Wow. Sheesh. When you fight an ancient primordial being, one has to wonder, was it worth it in the end? But back on to, the saint holidays. Depending upon where you are, different saints are celebrated, and these are actual Christian
Enough.
saints.
She is healing, but she must rest now.
But the point is that these are the origins of a lot of our holidays, and they don't even get the respect that they deserve. I mean, France kind of does it for Yule, but that's it. Anyway, this is Ghost Hunter 385 signing off. I will see you next time.